Good afternoon. So this will be titled as another chapter in the Ziggurat of Ur because it relates to the moon, this video, but it will not deal with my biography per se. We will hold the next video that I promised you later today. I should just say that I'm sitting now after I've like refurbished the two crucibles and almost finished with the ashtray, and I'm lighting like my most expensive cigar. Even though it's not that expensive, objectively, it's something like 70 or 60 shekels, but I only buy very cheap ones. The Paradiso Colosso. I remember this one that I really liked it when I had money. So I celebrate, the many events, that are now, happens on Earth with this relatively fancy cigar, and of course, I taste the taste of poison because. Yes, again, another trick of the Shabak, they actually poisoned it. Probably back in the store, they knew that I actually wanted to actually buy it because they knew that I like it, and they gave me all sorts of messages like paradise, buy the paradise, but I really like the paradise anyway, so of course I bought it, and yes, it's poisoned. The nice thing about it is, of course, that since the now bicycle mechanism is in full throttle, many of you will actually feel the poison taste, and probably it will affect you like 100 times stronger. And I get my comfort from this, of course, all over the world. But I couldn't say that I don't have money at all, almost at all. This was kind of a luxury item, and it is all ruined by the poison. Should I smoke it anyway, even though it's completely poisoned? Yes. For the bicycle to do its job. This is a huge one. The Colosso is like the biggest form. One of the biggest forms. And it's completely poisoned. Maybe you can feel the taste. Such a shame. So yes, you understand why the Earth is destroyed? So some people ask, is that an asteroid or a spaceship? So it's a spaceship. Asteroids are also on the way, but we'll discuss it in a moment. Actually, the starship, as I said, the symbol is about between 10 to 1,000 times bigger by default than the actual object. Which, immediately it doesn't make sense, but after you are getting used to it, you will understand that this is actually the correct way. And if you want to enlarge it, use the enlargement symbols. So, you see, the typical size of a spaceship. The symbol related in relation to the Earth. So, yes, subtract, maybe, like, divide by 100 or so. Let's take it an average. So, yeah, you get, the default size of, like, about the size of Israel, I guess. Something like that. Yes, it's a spaceship. Yes. Of the cherubs, yes. No, they will not send the messenger because they already did. This is me. Nice to meet you. I hate you, all of you. You are all the scum of the earth. We don't have any good intentions at all. Good intentions would have been materialized by the fact that you would not have been you need to actually watch this spaceship. This is not good omens. No way. It's only bad. Yes? Most probably the end of humanity. What you need to do to run? No, not to walk. To run to to run to Israel with the mouth closed. Run. All of you, run to Israel to get us out. Out! We will speak about all your questions when we are outside Israel, not inside Israel. Outside Israel. Mouth is still open. So regarding the asteroids, so I think my hypothesis is that they go like in continuous way. So you will actually be able to see them like getting larger and larger, and maybe you will decide at some point that you have enough, and it's time to actually stop conversation with the Israelis and run to Israel to get us out. But maybe you won't. Anyway, this is the enlargement symbols here. So the dots, if you see the dots are, each dot represents like, the power of 2. So there are like, several hundred of these, or maybe like 100 or 50, at least. Yeah, you don't need to be a mathematician to understand that if it's not like, a continuous function, but kind of a discrete function that deals with like integers, so they just create the biggest, the request, just from the beginning, it means that, an asteroid that is probably on the way to Earth, it will, obliterate the planet. But this was not my intention, because, if only for the fact that there are also like life forms that, should be preserved. So if my intention were correct, were true, and it's not the case, and actually the case is it's actually getting larger, like the same as neurons go larger, or life forms are going larger. So I think that you will be able to see the asteroids. It's not one, it's many, and you'll be able to see them very soon. Although there are several asteroid maps in my closet, and of course in the YouTube account, and so you will actually see. Many of actually the impact like places are. You can already know now. You're welcome. So, it's such a cool way. No, the only luxury item, luxury, it's not luxury, it's actually a cheap cigar, in objective manner, but something a nice thing that I bought. I'm so poor and helpless, and they also this is poisoned as well. So these guys they keep speaking, poisoning my cigar, doing whatever they can to torture me. So I thought, for the first time, after a long time, I thought about a new curse of the earth, like a new plague. Because all of the plagues, the asteroids, the Starship, radiation, life forms, are with us, for like, since the beginning of the artistic journey and the symbolic, inquiring into the symbolic language. But, no, actually one was added, following my understanding of the nanobots. But, let's leave it now. But I have an idea for a new kind of like curse. So this will be actually related to my moonshots. I'd call it the lava tube series. It's a series of paintings like this one. I don't have like, I don't want to open the closet with all the painting, because such a mess in there, and everything will just fall on me. So, just watch the screenshots. It's one of the moonshots. It's mostly in oil, pretty big ones. I like the moonshot paintings, and it relates to the moon actually. So, black and white, and sometimes with grease the paint, which is kind of like a shade of blue. So, I'm just now thinking about this curse. Of course, it will be done with the help, it will be executed with the help of the spaceship, and you already, watch the size, you get like good approximation of the size, and can deduce capabilities. This is the most disgusting cigar that I ever touched. It's completely poisoned. It's not paradiso, it's hell. So I'm thinking about the news. I'm formulating it now. Maybe you have advices. So it goes something like that. So you remember that there is in the original Total Recall from like 1990 with Schwarzenegger. It's a pretty good movie actually, of Paul Verhoeven, if I'm not mistaken. A pretty solid science fiction flick. So one of the elements that you see in the end is that kind of like presumably ancient culture left like kind of like a mechanism inside the planet that will allow to very fastly terraform it by future cultures or inhabitants of Mars. So the question is not if it's actually feasible or makes sense for what sort of reasons, but the question is more general. Is it actually possible to, I wouldn't use the word terraform, since it's kind of like an overarching like term, but is it possible to actually dramatically change the conditions of a planet? And when I say condition, I mean like inherently, the inherent conditions, that defines like, the planet orbit or geology or, climate zones or places of like, the place, the placement of the continents in case that there is water on it. It's possible I mean, in other words, to terraform a planet, but in a relatively very short time. Like maybe not in 1 hour, but I mean, like in 100 years. Without, I mean, completely destroying like the entire ecosystem and killing every living thing, and presumably maybe even like, I mean, creating what's called the resurfacing events, which, I mean, sounds like an event where, I mean, it could like, I mean, geological periods, I mean, when there's like, I mean, the surface is completely changed. So it's possible. So you can ask, I mean, what's on your mind? What kind of a change? I mean, so I mean, the easiest answer will be yes. I mean, global warming is such an example, but global warming actually takes place. I mean, it might be extremely. I mean, you don't need to worry about it. This is so disgusting. You don't need to really worry about the global warming. You're all going to die by the spaceships. But I mean, I refer to terraforming events, which are, I mean, much more extreme than the global warming as you know it. So what's on my mind? So I'll give you, I mean, example of such an event, and I'm curious whether it can actually be done like in a period of like 100 years and not less than that. I mean, not more than that. And if it's not possible, I mean, what's the minimal time that you need actually in order to do it? I mean, as much as I like you to suffer, I mean, from the bicycle mechanism, I cannot continue with this cigar. It's completely poisoned. I mean, I feel like, I mean, sorry, I cannot continue with it. So if you're still alive, I mean, I will not continue with this cigar. So what's on my mind? So I'll tell you what's on my mind. So, I mean, what's the main problem with Venus? It's not the clouds. Because, I mean, these clouds, I mean, maybe they should be reduced, I mean, to some extent, but, I mean, they are not the main issue. The main issue is the slow spin, the long nights and long days, correct? Like in Earth, it's also in Mars, it's like about 24 hours, or in Mars, something like that, but, and in Venus, it's more than like a year, like, I mean, such a long night is such a long day, and this is very problematic. But of course, I mean, the planets still support life, even intelligent life forms, but it's really, I mean, it's a really bad condition. I mean, all will agree that, I mean, it will be beneficial for Venus to actually have the spin of Earth, or comparable one. Doesn't matter if it's like 20 or 30 hours for day, but not, I mean, 1 year. And arguably, it should be said that, I mean, it will be very beneficial for the Earth to exchange a spin with Venus. So actually, it will have these very long nights and days. I'm saying arguably for humans it will be much better because it will, I mean, it's a very good punishment for their behavior, for all sorts of reasons that I do not need to actually repeat now. This is how they treat strangers. This is how they treat strangers. The people of the Earth, the Cyclope Island, the cannibal Cyclope Island. But it still arguably will only be beneficial because, again, there are other life forms that will be greatly affected by this, I mean, such a drastic change of spin. And maybe, I mean, the punishment of humans does not, like, worse, I mean, the destruction of so many other life forms. Even though we still do it with radiation and with asteroids, so it's not something that is not on the table. It's on the table, but it's a question. But let's not speak about the practicality or the morality, but about the feasibility from physical, I mean, point of view. So what is needed to actually do it? So there is another question of why it's actually like that. So a very prevalent theory is that actually Venus, in the past, it was spinning like very quickly. I mean, like Mars and Earth, but it slowed down for unspecified reasons, or I mean, all sorts of like theories. But I'll tell you what I think. You know what I think? You know what's the problem? What Venus lacks, and actually Mars have, and Earth have a very prominent one? A moon. Earth has the Earth has got a huge moon compared to its size, and Mars have like much smaller moons, but still, I mean, it's smaller planet, and they have two of these. And Venus have 0. And I think that, the moon is, contribute dramatically to the spin. So what if, there was like a meme, in the past, in the internet meme. What if we take it from here and put it here? We take the moon from Earth and put it in the orbit around Venus. And this will, so this is certainly possible. It can be done by the spaceship that you actually already see. Of course, not in a day, but even if it takes 1,000 years, it's not. It's much quicker than that. But even if it's, it's still not. It's not part of the terraforming of Venus. It's certainly will affect Earth, but it's still before. It's the starting point for terraforming. So we didn't because the question is whether you can do such a magnificent engineering project in less than 100 years. So even if it takes you 1,000 years to move the moon to Venus, it's still it doesn't count but it shouldn't be that. It's probably much quicker because it starts to affect Venus only when it arrives. So the question is, after it arrives, can it actually start the spin? Let's not. The question. I try to focus myself on one aspect of the question, not to actually whether it's possible to move the moon because it is possible. You can do it to actually use a gate actually, but. And not even, whether, the theory of, the relationship between the existence of the moon and the spin is correct. And not even, the question of whether if you can artificially, place a moon, will it actually create a spin? No, I take all of these questions, the terms of this, conundrum of this, question is that, we consider that all of these questions are answered with yes. The question is, supposedly, that you do it and it starts spinning, and maybe if you can control the acceleration. If you control the acceleration, so after 100 years, it will be the day will be comparable to Earth or Mars, and not a year like now. Will the change of the spin during these 100 years will be slow enough to sustain the current life form, or at least most of it? Because of course there will be a huge ecological change and extinctions and new species, but in general, you understand, it's kind of like a layman question to say, okay, without too much definition of what does it mean to preserve life form. Let's just ask, if humans could actually be able to live, and monkeys, things like that, fish, leviathans. So it's a very specific question, an interesting one. And maybe it will actually be something that I will actually do, because you don't care. I'm still in prison, and I'm poisoned and tortured. I want out. Now, no, not tomorrow. Now, me and my daughters, out of Israel. No, not with mouths and tongues. No. We do not require mouths and tongues. We will answer all of questions once we are outside of Israel, outside of the territory of Israel. Then we will speak about everything that you want, but not before. After we are outside of Israel.